long-term went that the plan started to really break up. In our study, the weight loss plans with 45 grams of carbohydrate and 100 grams of carbohydrate per day were both used to represent the lowest and highest amounts of carbohydrate allowed in the maintenance phase. South Beach. Boy, this one was a hit a couple of years ago. I don't hear about it as much now. It recommends certain types of carbohydrates and fats. South Beach plan is organized into 3 phases. The first 2 weeks is weight loss, restricts consumption of particular foods, mainly your breads, rice, your white foods. Alcohol is gone, fruit, and sugar. The plan is liberalized in the second, continued weight loss, and third maintenance phases. In phase 2, dieters are instructed to have lean protein and low-fat dairy, and gradually introduce whole grain carbohydrates and fruit. In phase 3, subjects expand the quantity and selection of whole grains of particular fruits and vegetables. Both phase 2 and phase 3 menus were used in this analysis. The 2-week introduction phase wasn't included. Zone. There's many, many books about the zone plan. I know we've talked about them in this office. It's a reduced carbohydrate, low energy diet based on a ratio of 40-30-30. It's anchored on the premise that high insulin levels contribute to weight gain, which has been studied and shown through research, and must be stabilized to promote weight loss. Carbohydrate intake is restricted and limited to whole grains. The zone plan recommends low-fat protein to be consumed at each meal. Good fats are emphasized, such as monounsaturated and N3 fatty acids, while saturated fat from red meat, egg yolk, organ meats, and processed foods are restricted in this plan. Ornish plan. Now this is the one that the American Heart Association really likes, because this one was first put out to help support and decrease those signs of heart disease. So they were looking for mainly lipid levels to improve, insulin fasting levels to improve, okay? This was developed with the goal of reversing and preventing heart disease. Supplies less than 10% of energy from fat. How they come up with that, I'm not sure. Cholesterol and saturated fat are strictly limited, and all animal products except egg whites and non-fat dairy products are excluded. Oils are eliminated except negligible amounts of canola oil and N3 fatty acids. The Ornish plan allows a moderate intake of alcohol, sugar, and salt. Energy is not restricted, but the participant is directed to confine dietary intake to the recommended foods. Legumes and high-fiber carbohydrates are the foundation of this plan. So if you notice, there's different foundations that go on through each of these plans. So it doesn't mean that whatever you're intaking could not create weight loss. It's just how they're going about decreasing calories for these patients. Now the 2005 food guide pyramid, this one is a little old because we definitely have a completely new food pyramid now. But when they did this one, they used that pyramid, which was developed based on the scientific literature of nutrients and food types that prevent chronic disease and nutrient deficiency. 2,000 kilocalorie per day plan, the 2005 food guide pyramid recommends 2.5 cups of vegetables, 2 cups of fruit, 3 ounces of whole grains, and 5.6 ounces of meat and beans each day. Lean meats, poultry, fish, dry beans, peas, they're all emphasized. Low-fat and non-dairy products are encouraged, and saturated fats are discouraged. Now you've seen that quite a bit in a couple different plans. That has come about. So, there it is. I thought this one was cute. So far I've lost 3 pounds on the Atkins diet. We'll cut down. It's okay. Sorry. Sometimes you find humor in the little things. I'm very easily humored. So looking at this, across the top, shows the different plans of Atkins, South Beach, Zone, Ornish, and the 2005 plan. Now the Ornish diet is the one most closest to vegetarian, is what they have found. Now you're looking at the AHEI score, which is telling you that it's protective cardiovascular events, and it's also they're hoping to increase lifespan. So most of these, if you look across, except a few that have lower marks, but your glycemic index, your Weight Watchers with high carbohydrates, and Ornish top the one all the way throughout. That would seem like the best plan for the American, or for the heart score. When they adjusted for energy standard, when they're looking at how much energy per food they have, how much energy output, then you came down with a little bit lower scores, but Ornish still topped everybody on that one. So I thought this was very interesting. I don't want to cover everything on there because they went through and gave all of these values for different foods that they had on there. But looking down at this weight loss for each plan, they lost weight throughout the whole plan. These were all 6 months looking at the plans. So weight loss could be achieved. Long term, nobody knows. Now there was a study done for 2 years looking at mitochondrial, how calorie restriction increases muscle mitochondrial biogenesis in healthy humans. And this was done in 2007. They did a study with a 25% caloric deficit by calorie restriction alone or with exercise. And they showed that they improved mitochondrial function. The SIRT1 gene was activated, so that could possibly increase lifespan. And they found that doing this plan with instruction throughout the first 6 months and at regular intervals at 9, 12, 16 months in between, they found that patients held off their weight. Whereas when you're looking at these plans, they did checkups 2 years afterwards, and most patients had put on 50% of the weight they had lost. So education is seeming to be breaking down through a lot of these plans. We also found something on the New York Times that I thought was quite interesting. Talking about The Biggest Loser. Who doesn't know that show? What a great show. It's kind of fun to watch. But what they were saying is that sometimes what they go through on The Biggest Loser is so extreme that people get sick. So they try to work so hard to win the money, and that's all they see at the end is the money and not truly the health benefits. That they even said that if they get a 55% success rate, they believe that they're doing well, which I agree. Anytime that you're looking at getting somebody healthier or trying to work towards a healthier lifestyle, you're definitely improving their life. So now how does this all play into the realm of things? What do these all have in common? What are we looking at to say, okay, why do we have this epidemic? Why do we have all these problems? Maybe we should go back and look at what's in our homes and what we're living with every day. And maybe that's the first part, and not, we shouldn't have to look at complete calorie restriction and watching exactly everything we eat. I should have 2.5 cups of vegetables, 2 cups of fruit, 5.6 ounces of meat. There are other things that are deeper. And Dr. Denmore is going to talk a little bit more about those and the toxicities that are related.
Thanks, Dr. Stacey. So there's a lot of programs out there. They all have their own thing going behind it. The Weight Watchers strength. I had a patient that attended a Weight Watchers meeting a few weeks ago and said, I learned something very valuable there. And I said, what is it? And they said, portion control. And you know what? That is valuable. Because whenever I go back home, my old home in the Netherlands, it's a wonderful little reset book. Because they serve tea or coffee or whatever they serve, and you get this little wafer of a cookie. Here you've got these nice plates. There's a cup thingy on the one side and fruit on the others. That's coffee time here oftentimes. It's amazing how it seems proportions that are served there are about half of what they are here. So yeah, portion control is important, and I think Weight Watchers does a good job with that. Where it doesn't do a good job, and Dr. Stacey, we had a conversation just before we came in, and we found that the Weight Watchers program has really, after 2 years, only between a 7 and 9% success rate. That, for me, is not good enough. That is not good enough. And why it doesn't have only a 7 to 9% success rate? It's because we are awash in a sea of temptations, processed foods, that it seems like everyone succumbs to at some point. It's a real problem. Atkins, does it work? Yeah, it definitely makes you lose weight. There is no question about it. For some, it works better than others. But to maintain the Atkins diet, long-term studies have shown, doesn't work. Less than 10% are still doing it after 2 years. It's because there's such a high carbohydrate, protein diet. It's just is not effective.